This topic is going to be about infrastructure, campaign infrastructure. Campaign infrastructure is one of my favorites because as I traveled campaigns around the globe, they would come in and they said, well, you know what, Ravi, you're the campaign guru, you're the expert. Why don't you tell us what we need to do? And I'd be like, are you joking? Really? Seriously? You've invited me from halfway across the world or whatever to help you come up with, ideas and strategy? I mean, you know your culture, you know your customs, you know what's happening, and that same applies to even local politics. I mean, what happens in Alabama is much different than what happens in California. And what happens actually even in California and San Francisco is much different what happens than from LA. So every single geography and distance and location, people, cultural, customs, even, the currency is all different in terms of what we do and how we communicate. And so one of the challenges that campaigns face is not understanding that strategy is great. You can write that campaign plan, but you need infrastructure before you can write that plan. And what that means is very simple, is that you need to make a list of all of this infrastructure. Yes, in order for you to run a successful digital campaign or an online political campaign, you must have these basic components in there. So everything from a computer to a cell phone to the ability to have software, these things are fundamental to your success. So you can say, oh, we'd like to do this or we'd like to do that. Well, that sounds great, but do you have the tools to actually get you where you need to go? Do you have the car to actually drive you to the destination? If you have no vehicle, how are you going to get there? You know where you want to go, but are you going to get there? So your infrastructure is that fundamental. It is crucial. It is your wheels on the ground. It is the ability for you to get from point A to point B. Infrastructure is also fundamentally important because it involves a component called training. If you don't know how to drive that car, my father would always get mad at me. He would say, put both those, he would say actually in an Indian accent, say, put both those hands on both the wheel and turn it, and I would have to put both my hands up there. He wouldn't want me to drink my soda. He wouldn't want me to actually listen to the music. He wanted me to stay focused on the road. Every single way that you learn a piece of software or computer or mobile phone is fundamental. One of the first things I would do in going into the campaign is say, you see this cell phone? You see this device? This device right here is actually going to help you win. And I think we all understand that. But here's the fundamental problem that I have helping you. Candidate or campaign team will look at me going, what is this guy talking about? None of you guys know how to use the phone. And they'll be like, no, we know how to make a phone call. We know how to use our apps. But no one ever reads the user manual. No one ever learns 99.9% how effective that tool can be. If you learn every component of that infrastructure, you can actually be much, much more successful. So infrastructure is fundamental. And if you took advantage of all that knowledge, think of how much time you would save, how much money you would save, and how many people resources you would save. So infrastructure helps us with time, money, and people. So getting the right infrastructure, spend the money, put it down, make a list of the items you have. You don't have to get all this stuff right away, but you should know what they are, you should know how they work, and then you should train your team to make sure that they learn. They don't have to become experts of 99.9%, but they should learn the 75-80% of it. And they should know how to take advantage of it. The last example I would give it to you is very simple. Someone said to me, Ravi, I use Microsoft, I use Google, which one should I use? I said, I don't care, it's infrastructure. Infrastructure is crucial, you have infrastructure. Infrastructure is advantage. As long as everyone can access the files and you have some security protocols, that's great. So they said, yes, all our files are here, we've saved it in the cloud, and we're taking advantage of it. But when I sat down with them, 90% of the team knew how to use Google, but the consultant and the campaign manager only knew how to use Microsoft. Now we have a problem because they refuse to learn, and these individuals are already using one type of infrastructure. Now we have what we call an infrastructural battle. And you don't want to create a campaign within a campaign. That is just utter disaster. So what you had to do, someone had to give. Either the campaign manager and candidate need to learn Google, or all of these people had to teach 90% of their staff how to use Microsoft. whatever the case is, whatever your decisions are, just keep in mind that you should all be on the same game page. You all should be on the same campaign plan that was laid out, and you should all take advantage of the different types of infrastructure you have. So enjoy this presentation, but more importantly, realize without infrastructure, you can't do strategy.